Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me today and taking some time to better understand mental health. I'm Jessica Kinnaman, Health Transformation Consultant with the Health Plan. Today, I'm going to talk about what mental health and wellness are. I'm going to give an overview of a tool we use called the Mental Health Continuum. And finally, I'm going to explain some resources available to you to help address any concerns that you might have. First, I think it's important for everyone to understand what we mean when we say mental health. Mental health refers to a person's social, emotional, and psychological well being. A person can be in good mental health, poor mental health, or somewhere in between, and it's normal to fluctuate. When we refer to mental health, we're talking about all of the experiences and feelings that a person has, from complete satisfaction and happiness to distress and mental illness. We can put all of this on a scale or a continuum called the mental health continuum. It is important to remember that everyone is unique, and what bothers and is troubling to one person may not even have an impact on someone else. Please remember that you cannot compare your mental health journey with anybody else's. This is the mental health continuum. You can see it goes from thriving on the left to in crisis on the right. If you're quickly trying to read all of this, there's no need. I'll be going through each category in more detail next. The mental health continuum represents the variety of ways we might be experiencing our mental health at any given time. Continuums are fluid and we move between categories regularly, and we even sit between the categories. You may even find that throughout a single day, you move from column to column. Like all continuums, we are all represented somewhere on this graphic. First up, we'll describe thriving. When you are thriving, you have an I've got this attitude when you're presented with a challenge. Your sleep patterns and mood fluctuations are normal for you. You are both physically and socially active, and you have a good amount of energy. You're limiting things like alcohol and gambling. Thriving, unfortunately, isn't usually a final destination. It's often a fleeting period of time. While you are thriving, here are some things you might consider doing. Identify what your supports and stress relievers currently are. This is easier to do when you're feeling good. What are you currently doing that's allowing you to stay in that thriving zone? Consider writing down these things, your supports and stress relievers, for future reference when you're not feeling your best. Sometimes all we need is a reminder of what's worked in the past. You might also consider focusing on supporting others in your life who may be struggling. This is the perfect time to reach out to those in need because you have the emotional bandwidth to do so. And finally, try to enjoy the moment because, as I said, it will be fleeting. Next, we'll talk about surviving. When you are surviving, you feel like if I could only do this, I'd be fine. Or I could handle this if only this would be true. You might feel irritable or nervous or sad much of the time, and you may be having trouble sleeping and not want to be around people. You probably have lower energy than is normal for you. You may also have frequent muscle aches and headaches. You may be regularly drinking or gambling, but still in a controlled manner. Some things to consider doing when you are in the surviving category. You might consider identifying an area you need to focus on to improve your situation and do some work in that area. Ask yourself, what would make my life better right now? And then make small and attainable goals that you can be successful with and then build on that success. Remember that list you made when you were thriving? Now is the time to pull it out. Check to see if you are still doing those things or if some of them have fallen off your radar. Another thing that may help is to intentionally lean on and expand your support systems. Search for podcasts or articles that address your concerns. Find and connect with others in a similar circumstance. That could be an online chat board or a support group, a book club, a Bible study, or an exercise group. If you have a coach, mentor, or wellness advocate at work, consider tapping into them for support. Finally, some people consider seeking the professional help of a counselor or therapist at this time. The third category is struggling. When you are struggling, you're asking yourself, when will this end? Or even, will this end? You may have feelings of hopelessness, pervasive sadness, anger, or anxiousness. Your sleep is probably restless and disturbed most nights of the week. You are avoiding social interactions and are often tired and achy. You may be finding it hard to control your drinking or gambling. It is very common to struggle with life's transitions or grief and find yourself in the struggling category. In our culture, it's normal to want to endure hardship and attempt to persevere. And while there's nothing wrong with that, it simply isn't necessary to do it alone. Here are a few things you may consider doing if you find yourself struggling. Remind yourself that you are in survival mode. Just getting through the day often feels like a win. Check in with your basic needs. Are you eating and staying hydrated? When you're struggling, it may be the time to widen your support system by seeking the assistance of a professional therapist or counselors. Here are some ways to access counseling services. You may have an employee assistance program or EAP through your employer that provides free short term counseling. Check in with your HR department to see if that's applicable to you. You can visit your primary care doctor and ask them for a behavioral health referral. You can search behavioral health on your health plan's website for covered providers. And finally, you could ask friends for referrals and call that clinic to see if they accept your insurance. The final category is in crisis. If you are in crisis, you feel like you just can't take it anymore. Your anxiety is excessive or you are easily enraged. You may also feel depressed. You're sleeping terribly, you're unable to fall asleep or stay asleep, or you may be sleeping too much and simply cannot get out of bed. You find yourself isolated from friends and family, and you are physically exhausted and might be physically sick as well. You could be addicted to alcohol or gambling. It is important to point out that when someone is in crisis, it doesn't necessarily mean that they will hurt themselves. When you are in crisis, it is time to get professional advice or help. If you are suicidal, go to the emergency room or call 988. In all other such situations, you should strongly consider contacting your existing therapist, your primary care doctor, or a nurse on call. You may want to consider creating a crisis plan in advance, similar to a tornado or fire plan. Decide ahead of time who you might call or what you might do when you are in crisis. It is almost impossible to problem solve in a crisis when you are in flight or fight mode. You may also find yourself in crisis after acute stress or trauma, and it may look different than you expected. You may find yourself paralyzed, lacking control over your emotions, physically shaking, or reliving the event, or even losing your appetite. These things may persist for several days. When you are in crisis, you will want to call on the people who you know will take over with your best interests at heart. Again, if you are in flight or fight, you will not be able to process information, problem solve, or make decisions. We've now covered the entirety of the mental health continuum. Hopefully, you have a little better idea of what this tool is and how you might put it to use, as well as some ideas about what to do when you find yourself in any of these categories. Thank you so much for joining me today.